All right, we'll call the meeting of the City Council to order and state that the notice for this meeting was duly posted. All the City Council here is so there is a quorum present. If you will stand, our Thurgood Marshall Air Force Junior ROTC will lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance and post our colors.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Right by you again. Stay down there.
We made a video that says so. We have a video that says so.
That's right.
I was waiting for you to get started. Sometimes I just demand it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ooh. It's good Sharon gave me a script to read. Like I need it. Well, I'm going to read you what she wrote anyway. It says, even before the city adopted its new branding slogan, the Show Me City, Fort Bend County, in partnership with the city, has accomplished various projects that have helped develop the city into what is truly a Show Me City. Our continuing efforts at working together in successful partnership through our interlocal agreements has been a tremendous benefit in the facilitation of several Missouri City projects throughout the last 20-plus years. Many times during this tenure, the county has assisted the city's Public Works Streets Division in all types of maintenance and repair work related to asphalt streets, parking lots, trails, and even building, replacing, repairing bridges and golf cart bridges. As always, the staff has done a great job. Some of the most recent projects included the reconstruction and paving of Columbia Blue at Glover Elementary, the construction of an emergency access road at the end of West Point Estates Drive, drainage channel reconstruction near La Quinta Holes 17 and 18, the rehabilitation and paving of the city center north parking lots that are currently being done right now, the reconstruction and paving of McKeever Road, and some of the other most notable projects of recent include the reconstruction and paving of the New Point Estates subdivision, leveling up, placement of rock and blading out of the service drive at Mustang Bio Wastewater Treatment Plant, the Quail Valley Golf Course Bridge rehabilitation. I salute you and your team for a job well done. Please accept our sincerest thanks for the timely completion of these projects and the efficient efforts of your staff. We look forward to working with you and your staff on future interlocal projects. That was a great script. But let me just say personally that, and I was kidding Mark, I was at a function a week or so ago making a talk, and we were talking about the new parking lot at the city center. And I was saying that the county was doing that project for us. And the question came out of the group that I was talking to, said, well, Mayor, how did you get the county to do a project like that? And I said, well, you need to look at your tax statement when you get it in October, and there's a line item on there called county tax. And I said, we're very fortunate in Missouri City that we have such a good working relationship and an interlocal agreement with the county that they're always there to help us with projects. So when we needed some paving of that parking lot, Mark and his crew stepped up, and I said the bridge, and then I mentioned it, the bridge that goes from number 10 of the El Dorado Golf Course to number 11 was in terrible shape when we took it over, and the county reconstructed that wooden bridge for us. So, you know, a lot of times we don't necessarily in the city realize how important the partnerships are that we have, not only with the county, but, you know, we were talking, I was also saying the other day that, you know, when we have a fire in this city and our trucks pull out of a fire station to go fight that fire, it is not unusual for a Stafford truck or a Sugar Land truck to back into that Missouri City station to be there. And all of that's done through our interlocal agreements that we have with all of the government agencies throughout the county, and we share all kinds of resources. And I know it's probably wasn't even mentioned on here because maybe it's been so long ago, but I remember Ike, Mark, and I remember a lot of debris in this city that had to be hauled off of the streets and put in a place. And again, it was through that contract that the county had with the debris removal company, and working throughout the whole time of the Ike fiasco that we were on phone calls every day with road and bridge crew about cleaning out, you know, streets or cleaning this and that. So, you know, Mark, I want you and you guys to come up here, and ladies, whoever's with you, but we thought that it was fitting that we finally publicly recognize you all for what you do for us every day. So, with that, I don't know, you can share this, you can give it to the county judge, you can put it in your office, but it's just a token of our appreciation, and it says, Missouri City, Texas, in appreciation and recognition of Fort Bend County Road and Bridge for their continued support, effort, and partnership with the City of Missouri City in providing sustained excellence and service to the citizens of Missouri City and Fort Bend County, September 2012. I know it's been long coming, but anyway, it's here.
Thank you.
I'll say something.
Well, thank you very much. 20 years. I think it's a little longer than that, but
I said plus, Mark.
plus,
Yeah,
yes.
it's 20 plus.
20 plus is right. I mean, I can remember working over here doing street repair when I was with Commissioner Lutz's office, so it has been a while. But I accept this for Fort Bend County and Road and Bridge. This is the first time any city has done this for us. So I truly appreciate this. Thank y'all, and another 20 plus years? Okay, thank you. Checks in the mail.
Checks in the mail, that's right.
Miss Susan Kirby?
Huh?
Susan Kirby.
Oh, Susan is. Susan Kirby's coming up. All right. This is a proclamation. It says that whereas September the 17th, 2012 marks the 225th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document during this memorable anniversary and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September the 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, I, Alan Owen, and on behalf of the City Council and the citizens of Missouri City, do hereby proclaim the week of September the 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week, and encourage our citizens to reaffirm the ideals of the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through its guardian of our liberties, remembering that its lost rights may never be regained. Okay. All right. This proclamation says that whereas public safety, including the reduction of fatalities and injuries resulting from motor vehicle accidents, are goals shared by the City of Missouri City and the State of Texas, and whereas the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Virginia Tech Transportation Institute estimate that nearly 80% of crashes and 65% of near crashes involve some form of driver inattention. Whereas both of these organizations estimate that driver distraction is a factor in approximately 4.78 million crashes, resulting in 2 million injuries, more than 34,000 fatalities, and as much as $184 billion in economic damages annually. And whereas a university study found that college students face a crash risk 8 times greater when texting than when not texting. Whereas the American Media Association called text messaging while driving a public health risk, citing a study that found text messaging while driving causes a 400% increase in time spent with eyes off the road. And whereas the Texting and Drive It Can Wait program can literally save lives throughout our city, state, and county, now therefore I, Alan Owen, on behalf of the City Council and the citizens of Missouri City, and all citizens, do hereby declare September the 19th, 2012, Texting and Driving It Can Wait Day, and encourage all of our citizens to commit to refraining from texting while driving and to join me in commending the sponsors. Signed by Alan Owen, Mayor of Missouri City. Alice Anatus from AT&T is here to accept this on behalf, because Alice, it was sometime, I guess almost a year ago, that mayors all over the state of Texas signed a banner stating that we would institute a no texting policy within our city, and I know that it's been on our dynamic message boards for some time, and
more texting tickets than anyone else in the city, in addition to...
I mean, man, the DWI and texting, you know, what are we going to do with this lady, huh?
She's unstoppable.
I know, I asked Joel recently, I said, I wanted a kind of report on where we were on texting, because I know everybody in this room still sees it every day. I do. It's horrible. And until we start citing people and they realize that it is a citable offense and we bring it to their attention, it's not going to stop. And I may have told this story once before. I was on 288 one day, and I got a text on my cell phone. So I pulled off of the side of the road to answer it. And I look up, and this constable was pulling up behind me with the lights on. And he walked up to my truck, and he said, "Sir, are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I know that I'm doing something that is probably unusual. I actually pulled off the side of the road to answer this text so I wouldn't be driving." He said, "You're absolutely right. You know, take care of yourself." So if we could get more people to just take the time to do that, and we're all busy, but I'm just absolutely amazed how many people I see elbows on the steering wheel doing this. This is scary as hell, people. I mean, at 65 miles an hour, we're doing this and looking down at it. So anyway, you know, if we can save a single life by bringing this to somebody's attention, and especially our young people, my daughter and all those other people who have been living with a, you know, cell phone in their hands since they were born, I think. I think they were born with them. But anyway, We're happy to do this proclamation. We're happy to have our major telephone provider, AT&T, involved in this thing. And so Alice is a resident of Missouri City, by the way, so she has a vested interest in it. But on behalf of the city, I present this to you. You want to say something? They're supposed to embarrass her 17-year-old newly licensed son.
I wouldn't do that. Mayor Owen, council members, thank you so much for everything that you do to help keep Missouri City safe. I am a resident, in fact, a pretty close by neighbor of the mayor's, and so we tend to watch out for each other. You know, texting and driving really has gotten to be a little bit out of control. Missouri City was way ahead of the curve in that regard. I was driving down Highway 6 going to lunch with my husband Saturday morning and saw the no texting while driving, it can wait sign on your dynamic message board, so I was really glad to see that. One thing I'd like to say that we do recognize that it is our younger drivers, high schoolers, teenagers, college students who tend to be the most vulnerable. They grew up with cell phone technology. They grew up texting, and that tends to be one of their major forms of communication. But you know, we all need to set the example for them too. We've done studies that show that 75% of our youth say that they have observed their parents or some other adults texting while driving. So it's really up to us too to set that good example, not only for our own sake, but for our young drivers' sake as well. AT&T does have a national campaign going on right now. Wednesday this week, September 19th, is National It Can Wait Day. And we're urging everybody to take the pledge to say, I am not going to text on September 19th, and hopefully we will learn that positive behavior and stop the practice of texting while driving all the time. So thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you. I see we have a young scout in the back there. I always like to recognize our scouts. Stand up and tell us who you are and what troop you're with.
My name is Justin Goody. I'm with Troop 242.
Very good. Thank you for coming. All right. Got all of our proclamations out of the way. Item 4 is public comments. Is an opportunity for anyone to address council on any issue that's not an agenda item, and I had no one sign up. Item 5 are staff reports. There are none. Item 6 is a consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as printed?
So moved. Second.
Councilman Marshall made the motion. Mayor Pro Tem White made the second. All those in favor? Motion carries. Item 7 are public hearings and related actions. 7A is a zoning public hearing and ordinance. 7A1.
An ordinance in the city of Missouri City, Texas, amending Section 4 definitions, Section 7A architectural design standards, Section 11 landscaping, and Section 14 fence regulations of Appendix A of the Missouri City Code entitled the City of Missouri City Zoning Ordinance, providing architectural design standards for hotels, repealing all other ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing a penalty, and providing for severability.
Have there been any changes?
No changes.
This is the second reading of this ordinance. Is there a motion?
I move to adopt. Second.
Councilman Smith made the motion. Councilman Marshall made the second. All those in favor? Motion carries. Item 7A2.
I'm on the phone.
Did you get ahead of you? Mayor Kirkendall, it's always nice to have the mayor here from downtown Fulshear, Texas. I know he's here on an agenda item, but we'll recognize him anyway. Yes, ma'am.
An ordinance of the City of Missouri City, Texas, amending Section 19 amendments of Appendix A of the Missouri City Code entitled the City of Missouri City Zoning Ordinance, providing rules and regulations, providing notice and public hearings for zoning amendments, providing for repeal, providing penalty, and providing for severability.
This is also the second final reading. Have there been any changes?
No changes.
Is there a motion?
Move.
Second.
Councilman Emery made the motion. Councilman Wynn made the second. There's no discussion. We'll vote. All those in favor, motion carries. Item 7B are public hearings. There are none. Item 8 are appointments. Item 8A is consider appointing members to the 2012 Bond Steering Committee.
Mayor and council, at the last meeting, we had a staff report where we discussed as far as the appointment of a 2012 bond committee for consideration for a possible May 2013 bond election. At that time, we kind of set this up to be a committee of about 11 residents. There was a question that was brought to me about the idea of possibly having, instead of one representative from, kind of designated representative from each district, having 2 designated representatives. So that brings the group up to 15. Staff has no problem with that if council wants to move forward with that one as well.
I have a little bit concerned with, is this 11, is that the whole committee? Or is this a steering committee?
This is a steering committee, but with, as far as the main things of being that the staff would recommend that that's looked at with this bond election, considering the size of the last bond election you did, was primarily regarding rehab projects for streets and sidewalks. There's nothing as far as kind of set for any major facilities other than possible construction of fire station number 6. So something that would probably come out of a master plan that you would then move forward with a bond committee, or have a large body that would be involved in kind of development master plan. We really don't have anything like that ready to go at this point to look at for kind of a large body to bring forward a rather large bond election. This one we're seeing is relatively more of a kind of a smaller authorization being requested, dealing with more rehab projects than new projects.
And I understand and appreciate that, but I've given us, I just think 11 people are too limited. Based on all the criticism that we get, maybe we ought to have a committee of 25 versus just 11 people. I still think the more input we get, the better off we are. Those are the same people that's going to carry the messages about what we're doing.
Yeah,
but I think 11 is just...
We're actually at 15, aren't we?
I think 15 is too limited.
Yeah, I think we're at 15 with what they proposed.
And I also noticed, Ed, on the background documentation, it says Mayor Pro Tem Wyatt's recommendation. That's probably about 30 people. Or on this page?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem did bring forward a sizable number of, I guess, residents who've been involved in a number of different activities in the past.
From all over the city.
Yes, sir.
And I think that's really key. And I'm not objecting to what the district thing, but I just think, I think we ought to get it up to about 25.
Mm-hmm. And I can't speak for the other council members, but I'm not so sure I quite understand the scope of what this bond referendum is going to be about. So I think that there needs to be other discussions on it. We've had little ad hoc inside meetings, and opinions and things of that nature. But I'm ready to dig off into officially as to what we are projecting here.
Yes. And for this one, we don't have a monetary amount other than just set aside yet, other than really as far as just based on past discussions that we've heard from council. Like I said, primary focus probably being what we've heard as far as with rehab, streets and sidewalks, you have drainage improvements that are needed, you have parks and trail improvements that are needed. And the only facility that we've actually heard from the council or from your kind of master plans coming forward has been fire station number 6. And this is just really as far as kind of looking out towards the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, well, I would really feel comfortable, Ed, if I understood what my fellow colleagues would really want in this bond referendum and what they deem as necessary. I want to make sure that I'm on the same page with them, because I don't quite, there are things I have in mind, but I want to see if they're parallel with the rest of them. So I'm asking for
Let me ask a question too. It shows that here in 1985, 95, 2003, and 2008, we had successful bond committees. Do we know what the number of the committee members that was in those?
They vary depending on what you've had in the past.
I mean, just a ballpark. I mean, is it 20? Is it 50? I mean, is it 10?
It really did vary. You've had ones where you've had like 30 to
I could tell you 2 of them because I was on 2. In 95, there was probably 80 people on 5 different subcommittees, and then there were 11 people on a steering committee that that all their recommendations went there. In 2003, it was close to the same thing, between 80 and 100 people overall, in all of the different things, whether it was public safety or transportation or drainage or.
One second. So I guess back to Councilman Smith's question was, the purpose. Well, right now we're talking about 11 and 15 and 25 and 30. I guess the purpose that you had outlined for this committee, what is it? So then we can come to, as colleagues, we can come to an understanding, do we need 50, do we need 11, do we need 100?
The purpose of the bond, really committee, as far as staff has considered for what you have the possibility of doing for a future bond election with next year, and kind of based upon some of your strategic priorities you've had. It was a rather, as far as a limited amount of money that's there. If the council wants to consider something higher and kind of something that's going to take a bit more of a comprehensive approach, then that's going to take a little bit more time, and that's fine. Staff can then go and rework this to be able to handle that. But what we were looking at was kind of more of a, as you can see from the meeting schedules, something that would move very quickly, and look and see what you had on your CIP for the next 5 years, and then what to move forward, as well as other things that may come through.
And you talked about the dates. So is there any particular reason why can it be delayed, or it has to be done, or it says presentation to the council by Monday, December 3rd?
It's the May 2013 date that is the thing that's pressing. If council wants something more comprehensive and that'll take a little bit more time, then you can always look at moving that schedule. The thing is, you'll have to call that election by February for that bond election.
Mayor, I think we got time. I'd like to suggest you to consider at least having a workshop to just come together as to exactly what we want in the bond referendum, and so we can sort of be not only totally informed, but make sure that we're on the same page.
Let me give my rationale for what I brought up. And the only reason why I look at the 11 people compared to the numbers we've had in the past.
We understand, but
No, you don't. Let me give it. So, because you don't understand it. Okay? The number of people that we come up, these are the people that excel this bond package. And I think it's pretty limited with 11 people. That's my rationale. My only rationale. But in terms of input and what goes into that package, we always have input through the city manager that goes to the committee who ultimately decides what the bond package is going to look like. And that's why my deal is having enough participation from around the city and people who will support it, because we don't go out and sell it, they do. And that's my only rationale for increasing the numbers.
It came as a long shot, but it worked. I did understand. And I'm not disagreeing with you. It's just that I think that there should be a conversation among the 7 of us as well. We shouldn't hold this up. We shouldn't stop. And I agree with you. We should have more than 15 people. But I still think that there should be some discussion among council.
Well, I think that's what's going to happen. If I look at the schedule, at the Tuesday, October the 16th, it says presentation by staff of considered projects and financing options. That's going to be where staff is going to tell us those critical projects that we need to consider.
The bond committee.
That's to the committee.
The bond, that's what I'm saying.
And it starts that conversation with the bond committee about, here's the overview of what you have in your CIP, and items that have been requested for the CIP that need to be under consideration. And then you start breaking into those in those separate meetings as far as more focused into, really as far as some of the areas that you're going to then probably start breaking apart for different bond packages.
Well, yeah.
If the idea is to do a more comprehensive group, you can't. Like I said, it's the time that becomes the critical factor.
I don't think it's that, Ed, and I'm going to go back to my comments at the last council meeting. One of the things that I'm most concerned about is that we're not the only ones that are looking at a bond issue. We need to figure out at some point in time what the county is going to do and what the school district's going to do. Because, like I said at the last council meeting, if we overload the citizens with too big of a chunk from all three of us, they all three fail. And I have stressed to at least the school district, and I will stress to the county this week when we meet, that we all sit down and coordinate this to some way. I think staff needs to tell us and this committee what they consider to be critical at this point in time. Fire Station 5 is one of those issues that's at the top. I also think we need to be looking at doing this in pieces and setting those priorities of what the citizens want. I mean, that the whole purpose of when we did the community center and for that $70.5 million bond issue, the reason I think it was so successful and why I think that it passed by such a big margin is that we had a large group of people who wanted it, people who didn't want it, people who wanted this, people who didn't want that, and they broke up into groups. And I think they came to us with a whole list of what they wanted. We put a price to it and said, we can't afford all that. It's great that you want all that, but we scaled that down and went back and said, here's what we can really bite off and chew. And I had lunch this week with our bond counsel, and I discussed that with bond counsel about we need to be careful about how much more bonded indebtedness the city takes on before we start affecting our bond rating, and that needs to be determined as well. We still have some unused bonded indebtedness out there. We need to determine how much that is and how much of that we can use fairly quickly. Then determine in May of this next year what that bond issue will be, how much that bond issue will be. And then at the same time, I think this group needs to be looking at what do we do and again, we can't, even if they did a $25 million bond issue in May of next year, we couldn't get it all spent in May, between May of 12 or 13 and May of 14. So we start looking at, okay, what of those projects can we move into another bond issue that is 2 years from now, 3 years from now, and start doing it like a master plan, because I don't, I've said all along that if we added up what really needs to be done in the city, it's probably $90 to $100 million. We can't take that on financially, physically, financially, and
Am I to understand, Mayor, I heard you say the staff needs to tell us and the bond committee what is needed.
Yeah.
Is that individually, or are we talking about collectively?
Now, collective, they need to tell us, Don, from a standpoint of the city's, in the city's eyes, Sharon's and Scott's and those, what projects are critical to us right now? What streets do we have failing right now, such as we did with
Mayor, I would rather have that conversation, and I'm not, and I don't think that that it wouldn't be a fruitful conversation with having 40-some people in the room, including council. But I do think that we should have a conversation about this as well.
Oh, I don't disagree with that, and I think you can.
And it's part of actually your annual CIP discussion.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we are going to start working better on, or doing a better job of, is in the CIP discussion, go beyond talking just the next fiscal year. I think it's one of the things I noticed with this year we did. But you have a CIP that actually goes out over 5 years with
Is that CIP discussion in that agenda, on that timeline that you have there on the?
It's actually the first meeting. As far as considered projects is the CIP.
And Ed, when you talked about this earlier, you mentioned, comprehensive, what type of plan that we want. In order for this thing to be on this agenda, I mean, I heard about this back in early part of summer when we were discussing budgets. So were we talking about, in order for this to be on, was it one particular street or one item, or, because as I see it, it says heavily on streets and sidewalks.
Right.
So this bond money is, I know we can't exactly say where it's going to go, but, it's used for those common projects. But I would understand that this is a needed thing to happen.
And there actually will be streets identified. There will probably, as part of this as well, because, I mean, there are. I mean, Gregory Street, for example, is, there's one that we have under design now but we don't have funding program for that for next fiscal year.
We don't have the authorization.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Bond-wise, and that's what this bond will do, even though we got outstanding ability out there, but it's allocated to something else. It's from my understanding. The
Well-
unused bond approval authorization we have now, this is not it.
Correct. Now, there are some different
Right,
projects that I mean, City
But
Hall is
that's why we need
one.
this
Yeah.
authorization. You know, and that's the way you have to think of it in the beginning. It is an authorization.
Yeah.
You know, to say that, okay, city, you can go out and get in debt to do these things. And we
And you-
don't have that.
And you know, this is, at some point, we may want to have a discussion about bonds. You still have the ability to do COs.
Right.
But your GOs are the ones that you really want to probably focus on, and that's what this is about, as far as the authorization for those GOs, because of that, as far as, you know, a lower interest rate, but as well as it has the whole community behind it. And so it's one to where you still have the ability to go out and get debt, using certificates of obligation, but the thing you really probably want to do press on most times is going to be your general obligation.
So I guess as Councilmember Smith talked about it, so that December 3rd deadline, you know, only reason I keep asking it, because I've reached out to people and I'm waiting on all these particular dates that you have lined here, because they need to make those, otherwise it's pointless to come to those.
Correct.
So I guess my question back to what Councilmember Smith was saying, can we discuss, you know, the number, I guess the issue that I've heard here is the amount of people that needs to be, you know, on this committee or what have you. So I guess if we can give us a little more update so we can get a clear number, so we can go back to the constituents and of all the districts and at large that wants to appoint, and then get back into this thing so we can get this going.
Well, that gets back to, I guess, really what the council needs to decide in regard to how big do you want this package? Because that's, you know, the mayor made the mention of, you've gone out and you've done some good-sized bond packages in the past that we're starting to have to pay for, especially with the last one that we're really starting to have to pay for. So it's one of where, how much, in the interim, when you don't have necessarily a comprehensive plan that's saying, here's your next big projects, how big do you want this to be right now? And or do you want to essentially delay this to some degree and get the master plan developed and then do some big projects?
Seems to me that you have in mind some size in it, you know. How did you come to that conclusion?
Past experience, working with as far as other bond committees where you've had kind of a limited scope, and limited scope means limited bond indebtedness that you wanted to go out and seek, running with a group about this size. If you want to do something more, I mean, and y'all's own experience speaks to the bigger, broader kind of bond elections, which is a possibility, but it is one to where the cost of that is something that staff is somewhat concerned about.
We, once it's determined, everybody at this diocese, we're going to have to get up there and talk to their constituents about it, and we all should be going in the same direction. If it necessitates in a room and discussing this, I think it's time well spent.
You know, the other thing is too, that 5% of the franchise fees, was that going to go towards streets or sidewalk, or is just a
No.
residential?
That's for maintenance and operations of the streets versus.
And that's
major
only
rehab projects.
$350,000.
This is the main bulk of the deal.
Yeah.
That you're talking about.
Yeah, that's $350,000 a year.
The problem is that we don't have this money now,
Right.
and we need this authorization. The other side to that is any one of us can give input to the city manager on things that we want. That's how bond issues have been done in the past. I mean, council has.
Is there a reason not to collectively
Let
just
me
come
finish.
together?
The council has never really sat down and ever predetermined a need to ask citizens to consider and put input in. That's like superseding them. But we do pass our information on to the city manager if we got projects that we won't consider or what have you. That's, I mean, I'm just telling you the bond issues I've been involved in, that's the way we've done them.
No one really wants to even insinuate that we will be predetermined.
But it'll give that appearance, and I know that.
Well, no, not actually. Not actually. What we are doing is we are sitting down and discussing the needs of the city. And then we collectively gather information from those people, from those citizens out there. That's an informant. You become an informed.
It works the other way, Don.
No,
They
it really
tell us-
doesn't. It
no,
really-
no, I'm gonna tell you, they tell us what's needed. We don't tell them what's
Well,
needed.
what part of that are you not?
Give them information.
What part of that are you not hearing? I'm saying that we don't want to overlook that. We don't want to stop that. It's just that I think we should have a conversation. But this is to be informed, to understand exactly.
Does that mean that we take action to tell them that this is what we want?
Now you're putting words in my mouth.
But that's what we have to do, Don.
We do not.
All right, but I guess the question before us, and I don't think anybody has any disagreement with the point that we can appoint as many people as we want, whatever we feel like this
Right.
council feels like. The importance is that we stay on track with this schedule, guys, and that by October the 16th, we need those committee people and you to sit down and start talking about what we all consider to be important projects to this city, both from the citizen standpoint, council standpoint, staff standpoint.
And there are.
That's what that meeting on the 16th will do.
And there's three important dates that aren't mentioned here, and it's the three important dates that y'all are involved in. There's a presentation to the council on December 3rd, but beginning at the next meeting on December 17th is when you then figure out what do you accept. They do the presentation on December 3rd, that's for you to really as far absorb it, unless you've been involved in as far as actually attend the meetings and everything. But, and then the discussion piece for the council really kicks into high gear on the December 17th.
Right.
And then you have the two meetings in January to figure out what exactly are you going to call for. And then by February, you're able to ready to go for whatever that bond election might be.
So you're clear that it is for streets and drainage and all that, right?
That's staff's recommendation.
That's
At the end of the day,
staff's
the committee could say, staff, you're full of it, and give you all as far as all types of other things to recommend. Just as you then, when you get those recommendations from the committee, can go,
Yeah.
we accept them or we discard them, and we want to do this instead.
But again, I think that's where that committee of however many we put on there, if the group of them says, scrap streets, scrap sidewalks, I want you to put it in drainage, then we're going to have to consider that. But I think unless I have misread what most people's concern are in this city today, it's having streets and sidewalks repaired and drainage goes along with that, though. I mean, when we do the streets, we're going to redo the sidewalks along with that. And this city, and I've said this before, is at that age where our streets have worn out. And if we don't address it, just like the mayor of Houston had to address it and rebuild Houston, it hurts, you know, when you have to do that. But if we don't start addressing that, then our property values are going to start paying the price for having streets that are deteriorated and sidewalks deteriorating, that nobody wants to move into this city, that everybody gets in line and we're all addressing it at the same time. We've got to look at this realistically and we've got to swallow the pill. My main concern, Wes, is how much can we do from a bonding capacity? That's my main concern. I do not want our bond rating affected by us taking on too much. I don't want us to tax our citizens to the point that they don't understand the importance of this bond issue and vote a bond issue down, and we can't do anything because unless they authorize it, there's anything we can do about it. And we can wish all we want to, and we can stretch every dollar we stretch. And I'm hoping this week, maybe as early as tomorrow or the latter part of this week, I will have some better understanding of where we are with Metro. I think we're very close. We have a meeting tomorrow. We've been meeting with, a couple of us have been meeting with the management team at Metro and legal. I think we're very close to us getting the same contract that we have today for another 20 years. That's a 50-50 split. What I'm hoping we have worked out is that, and I think I've told you all, that 9 of us will move to that 50-50 split instead of the 3 of us, Katy, Humble, and Missouri City, that 9 cities will move to the 50-50 split and the other 4 will get a fixed amount. We have taken our contract meaning Missouri City's contract, and Hedwig Village's contract, and have blended those two together because there's pieces in ours that fit all the cities. There's a piece in Hedwig that deals with police, Joel, that allows Metro funds to be used for policing because it's traffic mitigation, and it's allowed under the transportation code anyway, but there was some conversation early on that some of the Metro board didn't feel like that cities should use transportation money for police. But anyway, we're very close to that. Guys, if we can put that together, then I feel a lot more comfortable about us having that $3+ million a year to use on our projects. If we don't get that, we're in deep trouble. And Wes can tell you that, but I think we're close to that. So we have to take that in consideration. That's not bonded indebtedness. That's sales tax. So if we can take that, that gives us $3 million to work with for, and that has to be spent on streets and sidewalks and traffic mitigation and stuff. So, you know, I think by the time you have this, we'll have something in place and we'll know that things are there. But I think citizens are going to tell you they want streets, they want sidewalks, and they want drainage.
So what action do you want from us tonight?
The main thing I was looking for tonight is see if y'all were ready to appoint a committee for us to go ahead and kind of get things started. I did in the schedule build in the flexibility for you to be able to do that at the next meeting as well.
So today, as of
Feeling ready today.
So as of today, it's 15 people.
As of today, the recommendation is 15. If y'all gave me 25, 30, 100 to work with, we would make it happen.
I don't.
Since
that
Councilmember
number doesn't make any difference to me.
Mayor Pro Tem had about 50 people in here. So you got a recommendation?
That's, well, let me just tell you, 50 people is too many people. You won't ever get that many
No,
people
you don't need
together.
that many, but you need enough
25
people.
probably.
You need enough people who's gonna carry this
Yeah.
package.
You need 25 people that are committed to coming to the meetings and are willing to go door to door and sell it.
And be able to feel like they have their voice heard in the meetings as well.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons that we do have kind of a smaller number, the 15, is when you start getting it too big, there are people who are going to be not
Majority
able to,
rules.
well, and not be able to be heard, amongst others.
And one other part to it is that at some point in time, all of us are going to have to start going to outside sources that we know, asking them to help contribute towards the promotion of this. And I've already had some companies that have volunteered to help us fund that. Remember, the city can't spend a penny on promoting this bond issue. But as we buy signs, as we print up material, as we do mail outs to citizens, we can't, as a city, spend a dime on that. We have to have outside sources pay for that. And there are vendors, engineers who do business with the city and other companies that, look at Tommy, look away. You know, that do business with, yeah, Cruzy, yeah, it's that do business with the city that are very willing to do that, and we have to think about that as well. So use your contacts there as well, guys.
Well, and you know, in the bond offering that we had for the parks, we had a group that we put together of citizens.
Yes.
That went out and sold the package and acquired donations, contributions to be able to put out, you know, literature and material that was
Yes.
able to tell the folks what it was all about.
So can we make a recommendation to have 25 people on this
Yeah.
committee?
Absolutely.
That's my
Then you
recommendation.
just got to go find them.
Well, and I guess the question is,
Got most of them.
how are you going to
Just-
split those 25 people up, okay?
What you mean split them out?
Well,
Well, the
who's
15
going to
right
select
now
the
is
25? Are they all
two from
coming
each
from,
district. And
you know, are we going to have 5 from each of the 4 districts and 5 from,
No, I wouldn't say that.
well, somehow
Maybe
we've got to
4.
decide what is there going to be some distribution within the various districts as far as representation.
Well, I think they already done that, haven't you?
Well, there's
They haven't done
there's
it.
2. There's 2 from
Four.
each.
If you did 4, well, I'll tell you what, if you did 4 each from the districts and 3 each from the at-large, that gives you 25, am I right? Did I do my math right?
No.
Short one.
16.
4 from the 4
Well,
is
3.
16, and 9 from the 3 is 25, I think. So that's 4 from each of the 4 districts and 3 from each of the at-large.
You consider yourself at large?
I consider myself at-large, yes, I do. And I've submitted 2 already myself, so.
Now, the
I
easiest
need
way to
one.
do it would be just each of y'all give the names, and then you ratify that in essence at the next meeting.
Yeah, that'd
If
be
y'all
the
feel
easiest thing to
comfortable
do.
doing that.
Right.
Either way, but I'm just saying, it's, at least if we can get 4 from each of the districts and,
So so make a recommendation that
each
we
of
have
the-
25 in total
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
4 from each council districts and
3 from the at-large?
3 from
at-large.
the at-large.
3 at large.
3 at large.
because even with our at-large, we're gonna overlap into some districts.
Oh,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Kind of hard not to.
Well, that's right, because one of my recommendations in Don's district already, and one's in Floyd's, so.
And Jerry, you got 2 names there that I would like to have on my list.
Oh, yeah.
Probably
There's
same
a
ones
bunch-
I'm thinking about.
There's a bunch
All
on
of
his
Jerry's
list
is in
that
my
I already-
district.
Huh?
I said, there's a bunch on his list that I'd already,
And
Submitted
and it's my recommendation, guys, that we stay away from people that are already serving in some capacity
Or those who don't serve in a capacity.
and go towards those that are new.
Right.
That we can
Well,
get
I can tell
involved
you,
in.
my interests are the people in the large acreage areas.
I know where?
In the large, like Orchard Creek
Creek
Farms and
Forest.
Oak Creek
Oh, okay.
Forest. That's where my interests lie.
But my suggestion is that we stay away from people that are already serving in some capacity and involve some other people.
well, I agree. My 2 names I put in are not on any.
And I think that
City committee.
not only gets, oddly
Also-
enough, in 1973, I served on the bond commission. That's how I got started even becoming P&Z.
But Mayor, also
Same
with,
thing.
Yeah.
with that being said, though, these dates that are proposed, one of the difficulties that I'm having is these dates that Ed has proposed. It's hard to find people that, that has that kind of time to make those meetings as well. So when you look at that, it's a great suggestion, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to find people, throughout the district that can meet those commitment dates. So it's very difficult in that sense, too.
We have a lot of people in this
do.
community that are retired,
Well, we need some young ones, too.
that have a lot of time on their hands.
What we
and-
need to consider is talking to the HOAs and suggesting
Yeah.
that they not hold a meeting during October to where they,
Yeah.
are not conflicted on going to their HOA meeting versus going to these meetings.
Well,
That's kind of what I was hearing.
Okay, do you need some kind of a recommendation as far?
I'm hearing as far as, I
I
think
think
y'all got a
Robin made
plan.
it.
The one thing I do need clarification on is, the original concept had a representative from Parks Board and representative from Planning and Zoning Commission.
That's fine.
And y'all, just make sure that
That
that,
makes
y'all
more
are.
Yeah.
sense. Five.
No,
That's
that
27,
would
but that'd
make
be
it
an addition, that's
27.
fine. The big thing here is having somebody
That
be
would
able
make
to
it 27
communicate
the
back
way
and
he's
forth
saying.
amongst
Yeah,
the
but we're
committees.
talking about 25
As they're wondering
citizens.
why, maybe why these
Yeah.
parks were considered and these other
And
parks
then we're talking
weren't
about
to have.
25 citizens. Staff's different.
No, I'm
no,
talking
no, no.
about 2 citizens,
Board.
that you have a Parks Board member and a P&Z Commission member, to be able to,
That was the
you can give them
original.
voting authority, or
Know
just.
who those
Those
two are.
respective boards.
And so, but the primary thing is for them to be able to kind of help with reporting back and maybe even some history that involves the different boards and commissions and things they've thought about in the past.
They'll be in there.
well, that just, with the mayor's recommendation, that might eliminate probably who I'm going to recommend.
I would let them be ad hoc members.
You can have them ad hoc members, or you can integrate them
They're ad
in.
hoc members that report back to their committees, but again, my concern is I don't want the influence of either one of those committees being in that meeting. I think they need to be ad hoc just like staff is.
And that's
My
fine.
recommendation anyway.
So
And Mayor and Council to suggest probably one of 2 motions, either postpone this item until the next meeting for the appointment. Alternatively, you can make a motion to authorize the city manager to accept names and to bring forth those names after speaking to those persons for clarification at the next city
let me-
council meeting. Where the formalization of the 27 persons would be authorized by council at the next city council meeting.
Well, let me ask you this. You all have seen the list of people other than Lawrence, which you would take off because he's on Parks Board.
John
Do-
Anthony Monroe, there's several
Huh?
people.
O'Malley and Jeff.
Ron Lee, is on
Do you-
there.
Bill McRae. Bill McRae.
Do you want to, 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 do you want to,
We're looking at the top list.
What are you looking at?
Those that are not serving in any capacity on council, which would be Richard Allenez, Elizabeth Collins, Jeff Gasper.
No, he's on P&Z.
Oh, he's on P&Z.
That's right.
Roy Gilbert.
Janet's not on anything.
Janet's not. Lynette's not.
Bernard's
O'Malley is.
not.
Bernard's not. Marius isn't. Lawrence is. Williams not. Michael Saboni's not. Those, if you don't have a problem with any of those can go ahead and be appointed
Yeah.
by this agenda tonight. That way you've at least got a start, and then we need to add to that for the next meeting.
Maria, you got that?
What?
Well, we're not on item 8A yet, unless we're going to suspend the rules and go there.
Well, eight, yeah, we are there. That's the item we're on.
Oh, you skipped the staff, you did it reverse.
Yeah, there was
That's what got me.
there was no staff. Yeah, 8A is where we are. So my question is to Robin, who's got the original motion to make the committee 25 citizens. What was the rest of it?
Four from each
okay, and
council
4 from
districts.
each of the district, 3 from each of the at-large. And then part of your motion would be
And do
to
these
appoint
9.
all of these that are on the list today that are not on a committee, and go ahead and get those appointed. And that will tell us how many we got left.
And you'll know which districts those go with?
Yes.
Or which spots? Okay.
Yeah, you know who nominated them.
Okay.
I know who.
Yeah, she knows who nominated them, so that'll tell. Then tomorrow, will you tell each of those people how many they have left?
Okay,
Good.
that's fine.
Okay. That's your motion, Councilman
Yes,
Ellencat?
yes.
I second that.
Okay. Then a motion by Councilman Ellencat, second by Councilman Wynn.
Let me get my idea.
All those in favor? Motion carries.
Could I
Get
see,
Charlie on there. Yeah, Charlie's looking around. going,
Where is
"Huh?"
he?
Yeah, Charlie.
when is that first meeting
Uh-huh.
He
again?
doesn't have anything to do.
Yeah, Hathaway, you don't have anything to do. I think we could put you on there.
And that's gonna be on the agenda item on council.
No, that'll be their first meeting.
I got some
Oh, there
names,
first.
names in
I
your
leave 'em
district to give you.
They got their hands full. All right, item 9A is consider authorizing an agreement for professional services for the design of the widening of Trammell Fresno Road.
All right, Mayor, Council,
To adopt.
great, wonderful.
Okay, Councilman Smith made the motion. Is there a second? His next-door neighbor, Councilman Emery, made the second. All those in favor?
This project is the project that we're coordinating with Fort Bend County
It is, yes,
through their thoroughfare plan,
yes.
and they're paying for most of the cost.
No, this is the one that,
The tip project.
This is the TIP
this is the
project.
TIP project, so it has TIP funding.
Okay,
And-
so we're doing the engineering, so who's doing the construction?
TxDOT is going to let the project.
Oh, okay. And so this is a small percentage of the project that we're paying for.
This is our project that we're paying for strictly within our city limits,
Okay, but this is-
to the west side of the Fort Bend Parkway. The rest of the project, which is the county is designing and in the process of designing and getting further down the road with, which is on the east side of the Fort Bend.
So we're paying 100% of the cost of this project?
We are paying 20% of the cost of the construction,
You.
but we are paying all of the cost of the design.
Okay. All right.
I'll get
So
there.
we getting the bargain deal.
Yeah, we get the better end of
But,
the
but,
stick.
but that's gonna run out. That's why we need this bond issue.
That's right.
Well,
Keep getting the 20%. That 20% is how much?
It's roughly $330,000, yeah.
Okay. We just spent the franchise fee. All right, been a motion by Councilman Smith, second by Councilman Emery. All those in favor? Motion carries. Item 9B is consider authorizing the recording of the receipt of the 2012 tax values and acknowledge the collection rate for the Fort Bend County Appraisal District. And,
And Mayor and Council, this is
thank
just
you,
the-
Tommy.
I'm sorry?
No, I was asking Tommy now.
This is just recording of the receipt from Patsy.
Then making it official. Is there a motion?
This is, I move to adopt.
Okay.
Second.
By adopting the recorded rate, is that the same as adopting the tax rate?
No, sir.
Or is that a different?
That's a collection rate.
That's a different action?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But while we own this, I would like to point out to council that we really need to consider going to the effective tax rate. The effective tax rate is not a tax increase. I went back and gathered information. In 2011, because we didn't go to the effective tax rate, that was $922,000.
Yeah.
In 2012, it was $1.1 million. We cannot keep putting forth budgets where the expenses exceed revenue. I think we need to start getting back on track. I remember the days when we did the effective tax rate plus 3%, like Sugar Land is doing today with their tax increase, okay? But the effective tax rate, as I understand it, what it simply means is that we're moving the tax rate to generate the same amount of money about that we did last year.
That's correct.
It is not a tax increase. And if we were to have a tax increase, we would have to hold a public hearing.
That's correct.
And going to the effective tax rate does not require a public hearing.
That's correct.
That is right.
So I hope when staff comes back with the tax rate, that we really consider, we got to get ourselves out of it. I mean, we've been doing this since 2008.
Right.
And y'all know I'm cheap. But when we start thinking about bonds, we got to make sure that bonding companies realize how we are managing our budgets and everything, and we cannot keep going to the reserves to make budget.
That's right.
This is one of the reasons why, Jerry, before I suggested that we kind of sit down and talk about this, because I agree with you. But I also have to take a hard look, and some of my constituents talk about it, just what out-of-pocket funds are all about, what's coming out of your pocket. And we are going to face in the very near future several initiatives. We're talking about a bond referendum, effective tax rate. We're also talking about HCC is going to have a bond referendum. And one of the things that kind of concerns me a little bit is that on the east side over here, in 2010, the evaluation of property went down on 44%. That's going to adjust. That's going to adjust, and rightfully so. And rightfully so. So when you compile all of this stuff within the next year or so, we're going to have a spike. We're going to have a spike to contend with. I just want to have this discussion because I really think that we need to be real sensitive to these type of things. This is not to suggest that we're against a bond referendum or a tax increase, because I know it's necessary. But I do think that we need to take a hard look at what's ahead of us.
Well,
so we can be sensitive to it.
And I agree with you, but keep in mind on the bonding.
And I'm not debating.
No,
you.
no,
I'm
no.
speaking
I know that.
I'm speaking to council.
Yeah, I'm just speaking in
Yeah.
general. You know, I don't care what Fort Bend County does or Fort Bend School District does. We need to look at what's for the best interest, because they're not asking us whether we do a bond issue before they do one.
You're absolutely right.
So
and
we can't keep wagging ourselves behind what everybody else does. The other side of it is, keep in mind, on a bond issue, the citizens are telling us what they're willing to pay. It's not, it's black and white. It's not a guess. But on the tax rate, this is not a tax increase. This is just to try to keep us where we are, to try to stable. I'm gonna tell you, if I was a bond rating agency, I might start looking at how we've been managing our budget in addition to how we're paying off our bonds. All of it goes together. But we can have, and we do need, and I agree with you, we do need to have that discussion. But I was just bringing that up so when staff came back, you know, we could be prepared to look at that.
I guess the other thing that
I'm real interested as to, I think we ought to separate ourselves too.
Go ahead,
Mayor,
go ahead.
from that HCC bond referendum.
Yeah.
Certainly we need HCC, but there's a possibility there that I would like to see happen when it's all on the same ballot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I guess the thing that I want to make sure is that, you know, we've got new commercial coming on. we've got new retail coming on, so that, we take into consideration, what additional revenues we can expect, from some of these new ventures that we're seeing in Missouri City. I know some of it, it's, there's a timing issue as to, when we might really see, some of the advantages of having heavy commercial. But I want to make sure that we take that into consideration so that when we look at the things that Jerry's talking about, we've got a real good idea, or we've got, a fairly solid, set of facts that tells us what our revenues are going to be.
But I can also tell you, and I believe this, I have no science to it, anything, but in 2010, if we had adjusted just to stay even, we would have gone to 55 cents, okay? I believe,
That's right.
I believe if we had not done the things we did with the community center, the golf course, and the tennis center, I think it would not have, because the values are going up. Yeah. But at the same time, commercial is representing, what, about 22% of the property taxes now? One time it was 14%.
I want to say it was higher than that.
But commercial is going up.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to say it's about 29.
And that's considered in this effective tax rate, is the point I wanted to make. What's on the ground now is considered in the
Well, some of those
effective tax
things
rate.
aren't on they're not on the ground yet.
Well,
We're
some of
not
those
getting
things
revenue from
won't hit until the 1st January after they've been completed.
And that's the timing thing I was
Yeah.
talking about. I just want to make sure that we take that into consideration before we start making, decisions. And, maybe we'll have to, but
Well,
I want to make sure that, that we take all that into consideration when we make our decision.
Well, I don't think we can keep going with running.
Terry, I'm not arguing
No,
that fact.
I'm just pointing
Okay.
out a fact. That difference between revenue to expenses is $1.8 million. If we go to this effective tax rate, it won't solve that. That's only $659,000. But at least we can show bonding agencies or whoever we're dealing with and citizens that we are moving toward getting the budget back to an even keel. That's all I'm suggesting.
Okay.
And we do, and just to say this about, talking about what's coming online and what's come online on the last several years, we'll never see that for 25 years, 30 years until that TERS goes away.
The abatements.
Because of the abatements that we've given. So, yes, we do consider that.
Okay. We get sales tax. All right. There was a motion by Mayor Pro Tem White and a second by Councilman Marshall. If there's no other discussion, we'll vote. All those in favor. Motion carries. Item 10, or ordinances 10A.
An ordinance of the City of Missouri City, Texas, amending Chapter 30 Environment of the Missouri City Code, amending the rules and regulations for environmental nuisances, providing for repeal, providing a penalty, and providing for severability.
There been any changes?
No change since the first reading.
Is there a motion?
Move to adopt.
Second.
Councilman Smith made the motion, Councilman Marshall made the second. There's no discussion, we'll vote. All those in favor. Motion carried. 10B.
An ordinance of the City of Missouri City, Texas, amending Chapter 18 Businesses of the Missouri City Code, providing rules and regulations for hotels, providing for repeal, providing a penalty, and providing for severability.
Any change?
There are proposed changes.
Okay, what are
The
they?
first change was changing management on site 24 hours a day to staff on site 24 hours a day.
Right.
That's the easy explanation. The other changes relate primarily to the guest register and to the security cameras. It's been changed so that the ordinance provides for inspection to assure that the register is being kept properly and that the security cameras are functioning and recording properly by an officer that inspects.
How do you
Does that include the length of time that they'll retain?
It remains 30 days
Okay.
as was in the original draft.
Okay.
Just for my benefit, how do you monitor the register?
Go in and look at it. That's what my imagination comes up with. Let me see what you have and make sure the information is filled out.
Would you do a spot audit? I mean, go in there someday and say, I see your register and I want to knock on doors?
I could check in
We
and
wanna
see if they get
Don
the
Smith's
information
name on
We
from
want to see
me.
Don Smith's name on the register in there.
Manual registers or electronic?
Yeah.
That helps me out.
Most of what I've seen lately is
It'd
electronic.
be a fictitious name.
Does our ordinance
Love it.
allow it to be either?
I guess how do you
Our ordinance
prevent
does
that?
not specify whether it is manual or electronic.
Because under the hotel occupancy tax, we can audit that at any time.
For tax reasons, too.
Are we equipped to do that?
And under this regulation,
I thought we got
is
so many
management
hotels done.
required to verify the identification of the person registering as being who they say they are?
We require name, each registrant's address, date of registration, room numbers, vehicle license or registration number, shall confirm identity of each person registering with a validly issued government identification card.
Okay, so they've got to present a valid driver's license.
Or government
Government.
issued identification card.
Current.
Military card.
Yes.
There's the word current in there.
It says validly issued.
No, I can tell you, Susan, those are stolen every day.
Is this
But
also
valid
state
and
law?
current may not be necessarily the same.
I don't believe it is state law. This is
Chain of.
put on top of it.
Everywhere you go, that's what I'm saying.
And I've been a bit evasive in responding because I've used my city identification to register in a hotel before. Nobody believes me when I go in. Smith, they laugh.
And I haven't.
Would.
In
We
most,
know.
in most registrations today, don't they require that the license number of the vehicle be on there as well, the description and a license number for their own benefit so that they know that is a registered, so.
It's my understanding so they can keep track of the vehicles within their parking lots, especially in an area where there's high demand for parking spaces. They like to know it's their guest vehicle and not somebody parking there and going off somewhere else.
So essentially, what we're adapting is what most places do anyway.
Yeah.
Was what I was thinking as I was trying to pull it together from our neighboring cities' ordinances, and I'm sure Chief Barrison was thinking much in the same line and looking more for the effective enforcement, knowing more problems than I do.
Mayor, I move approval with the noted changes.
Second.
Councilman Marshall made the motion, Councilman Emery made the second. Does that include fire inspections too, Russell?
Russell's, no, he's
I
outside.
see him.
He heard you.
I know, I saw him. That include fire inspections?
The business will be inspected, yes, sir.
Is there any frequency of inspections on hotels that are different than other places? To make sure that the fire system is working, that the alarm system is working?
That is something I'll have to check with Fire Marshal Campbell and get an answer back to you. I don't have that answer.
Let's make sure that is something, because that's, you have a hotel fire, you have a lot of fatalities there, so.
Yes, sir. I'll get that answer and I'll get it to council.
I know our equipment can reach.
Yes, sir.
The insurance
floors
company's
there,
gonna
but I
really
just-
make sure that they up to date.
Because, with no external escape from rooms, it's all internal, so you really
Go ahead.
And that's covered by the fire code, which regulates these type of entities based on the type of occupancy. This falls into that type of
And the number of
multi-occupant.
inspections that are required.
Correct, and that's covered by the fire code, not by the ordinance before council tonight.
Okay. Very good. That's all I want to know.
And y'all are probably not aware, but insurance companies do a lot of inspections on those facilities, and they're pretty tough on those inspections.
To make sure council's aware of it, a facility as a hotel will be sprinkled.
Oh, yeah.
And that is a huge safety factor for the folks residing there and for the property there.
If they're hooked up.
We do check on that and make sure of that.
Yeah, that's what the inspection is. All right, there was a motion by Councilman Marshall, second by Councilman Emery. All those in favor? Motion carried. Item 10C.
An ordinance of the City of Missouri City, Texas, providing for the assessment, levy, and collection of ad valorem taxes for the City of Missouri City, Texas for the tax year 2012 and for each year thereafter until otherwise provided, providing the date on which such taxes shall be due and timely paid, and authorizing an additional penalty for the collection of delinquent ad valorem taxes in lieu of recovering attorney's fees.
I move that we adopt the effective tax rate of 54.4879, that the difference be applied to maintenance and operation, that the interest and sinking fund remain the same.
Is there a second?
Second.
This doesn't solve all our problems, but it reduces our problem by $659,000. And it generates the same amount of money. It began to get us out of the position that we've been in since 2008.
Again, this has no impact on
It's not a tax increase.
tax increase.
Not a tax
There's
increase.
no public hearing required. It generates the same amount of money that we did last year.
Okay.
Okay. Any other discussion? You have a question?
No, after
For-
this motion, I will though.
For a point of clarification, was the increase went to the M&O and not to the INS? Is that what was stated?
I can change my motion and,
Shortfall.
because you're gonna have to come back with an amended budget anyway, probably, right?
Correct, but the tax rate between the M&O and the INS has to be set tonight. And I guess I
Well,
have
that's why I did it that way at first, was just applied to, you know, give me some guidance. You prefer
No,
to go
I'm
to-
just, I'm
Okay.
just,
And I apologize, the rate at which you said the M&O would be at would be what?
Would be, the M&O would be plus the 164 difference.
Would be .35.
Oh, that's right.
857.
Right. You added
What
it
is
up
it?
for me?
Because right now it's .34, right?
Well, I didn't add it up, but I,
.35,
okay,
857.
857.
And
That,
the INS rate would be .18623.
623?
Yes, sir?
Okay.
and the reason for that, Mayor Pro Tem came in earlier today and began asking about, as far as for information on this. But there is a part, if you do increase it to the effective tax rate, you have to increase your INS rate, a certain percentage, or a certain, well.
There's
certain
effective
point.
rates for each of the two
Right,
components.
right.
And otherwise, you'll set things off balance on that.
Okay.
Sir?
So are those stated? Does he need to say them again?
With this motion, Wes, just for clarity, let's say I'm a homeowner and just for math.
Aren't you?
The value of the house is $100,000. How will this affect?
52 cents.
And I got a part B to this.
I don't know, 10 cents?
10 cents?
$1 maybe?
Okay,
I would say more like $1.
okay.
On 100,000?
The calculation.
Yeah.
On a $100,000 home. It's 1.6 cents per thousand. So if you normally would pay, I didn't have that with me, but if you would normally pay, I think I'm thinking in my head, the average home value, which is 157,000, that's like 29,000 and you would, or $28 and you would pay $29. So I think it's about $1.
About $1.
Maybe a little more.
That's probably in our presentation would be beneficial when we sum the whole thing up as what does it mean to the average homeowner. That gives the math there.
I certainly, I could show them that.
Can somebody state those two numbers again?
Well, we take the numbers that Wes stated and insert them into the amendment.
Do you state
get
them
sure
one more time?
I can't see.
Well, yes. The total increase, so,
I've been trying, and it's a mess.
so you have
I've got
your-
them down.
Huh?
He figured it out. So
I
that's fine.
understand. I wish there was something we need something for everyone to be able to follow off of. So if you go to your cover sheet, you'll see as far as you have the current rate of .2840, and then how that M&O and the INS are broken apart there. Under the effective rate, then your O&M, so everybody can kind of hopefully follow along, goes from .34773 to .35857.
Correct.
But your INS stays the same at
No.
No, your INS also has to
You have to
increase.
adjust it because of that.
Because you really, let me do this and then the truth and taxation laws you actually are adopting almost really two rates, but it's one comprehensive rate. And then your INS goes from 1.18067 to 0.18623.
Two, three, or 3,
Increase it
2?
also.
2.3.
2-3.
Hang on now.
Stacy, you gonna publish this?
And so your total rate then increases from .52840 to .54480,
Right.
which as mentioned earlier is an increase of .0164.
And some of y'all may not be aware of this. We use, well, Alan is, of course. We used to do the tax rate plus 3%. We haven't done that in years. Same thing the Sugar Land is doing
Write those numbers
today,
down.
how they do
I
that.
can't see 'em.
No, that's okay.
But we haven't done that in a long time.
So Ed, you said the total is going to be .56, right?
No,
.54?
Here it is right here.
0.54.
448. .5448.
Here it is right here. That's the new tax rate.
To 100. So this is one from
Everybody clear?
0.18623.
Ready to vote?
One moment.
One moment. Un momento, por favor.
That's my percentage of the tax rate.
Wes, I guess my only question here is, y'all are saying .5448.
Yes, sir.
I'm seeing on our cover sheet that it's .544879.
He rounded off.
I know, but he rounded down instead of,
Right. Because if I went over, I mean, if you went to 944, that's
well, I'm
just,
just looking at our calculations down for M&O and INS, and we're going to 5 digits. Shouldn't we be going to 5 digits for our
that's just a,
top one?
we could if
You
you
just
wanted
put
to.
another zero
but-
out there, Bobby.
But if I
Well, it's
did,
not a zero.
if I went and put a 7 out there,
Yeah.
it could have, but that's not
Yeah.
what,
And,
I would've-
and my point that, the sidebar discussion here is we have increased it by a very small amount above the effective tax rate in this rounding.
What?
By doing 8-0?
By
1,000.
no, more than that,
no, we
1
didn't.
millionth.
No, we didn't. The effective rate is .544879.
Right.
I went under that,
This is under.
to 5448.
Got it.
It's
I
under.
can't see, so I should stop talking.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to make sure. All right.
I know how to count the city's money.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to not leave anything on the
All right, anybody else got any more comments?
Oh, ain't nobody have a public
Have
hearing.
a motion and a second. You had the motion?
Yes.
All those in favor? Motion carries. Item 11, resolutions.
We
are-
now need a motion for the M&O. We have to
right.
accept these rates independently of each other.
Same motioners make that motion.
Same motion.
Yes.
We doing the INS or M&O?
Those are two separate motions with two separate votes.
Okay.
Yep.
So
Second
M&O is .35857?
Yes, second.
All those in favor? Motion carries. right.
INS, now you gotta do INS.
Do we need
too.
a motion for
So we did 3?
Right.
Yeah, you gotta do 3.
INS?
Okay,
Oh, we did the total.
.18623?
Second.
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor? Motion carries. Item 11 are resolutions, there are none. Item 12 are city council announcements. Let me remind you that next Thursday night, the Fort Bend Mayor and Council meeting is at the fairgrounds in Rosenberg. We'll kick off the fair. The parade is Friday morning for anybody that's riding in the parade. This Friday is the Pigs Tournament at our new facility.
40 teams.
40 teams. Mr. Emery's done a good job putting that together, and we will open the community center, city center at Quail Valley this coming Wednesday for golf, food, and everything else. We're ready to go.
Bring your billfold. We got a live and silent auction.
Everybody, yeah. So come over Wednesday and take a look if you haven't had an opportunity to see that beautiful facility.
At last.
And Thursday of this week, I will be at Fort Bend EDC announcing Niagara Water. They're flying in from Japan for the meeting. He's flying straight from Japan here just for that announcement. So.
I just have one thing. During the VIP opening of the Walmart, the store manager had a lot of great kudos to say about our fire department, how they were able to go through several doors and exit the people out during the fire, and she was very commended on that. So I just wanted to recognize Chief Sanders and his crew for that.
And their day of opening, we did report cards in the parking lot.
How many failed? Do you know?
Anybody fail, or is it just a report card?
We did over 200 report cards though, so I'll get you that number.
I think a few did.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
That was a good opportunity for us to
We're the
showcase
associates.
that. So. Yeah, yeah.
Well, we can announce that it's a new company opening up with 250 employees, that we're very happy to be employed in the city.
Yeah.
That sales tax. That isn't delayed, that's current. You know, we'll start getting that pretty soon. So. We do have closed executive session.
Not on this meeting. This meeting can be adjourned. It's for
Right.
the
This
resumption
meeting
of the
is about-
special.
Larry, it's nice to have you with us.
I mean, I added those numbers.
No, it's
Tommy?
But they're getting so big.
please. Crap out.
He probably